In this video, I'll be showing you how to debug an Omniverse extension using Visual Studio Code. Now before we begin, if you haven't created a Visual Studio project using the extension manager in the Code app, I highly recommend taking a look at the video that I've linked in the description, and that'll give you a good starting point for this video. Now, this extension is fairly simple. It just creates a window with a button that creates a cube. And so here's my window, and I can demo this now by clicking on the button, and it created a cube at the origin. Now, in order to debug this code, I'm going to be using an extension that links to the Visual Studio Code debugger. And you can see here at the bottom right of my window, there is a docked window here, VSCode link. And this will always show up when you launch VSCode. But if it's not there, or if you're running from a different app, you can enable it by going to the extensions manager, search for VSCode, and it's the OmniKit Debug VSCode extension, and you can enable that from there. So this window is showing me that the debugger is currently unattached, but the app is currently listening to 127.0.0.1 and port 3000 for the debugger to attach itself. So in my Visual Studio Code window, I have in my project a VSCode folder and a launch.json in there. This was created by the extension manager when it created the project for me. And here's the configuration for debugging. It's going to attach to localhost 3000. So that's all fully configured from the point that you create your Visual Studio Code project. So all you need to do is come to this Run and Debug and click this play button to start debugging. The call stack shows that it's listening to all these various threads and they're all running, and now the VS Code link window shows that the debugger is attached now. Now if I set a breakpoint, say at this print statement after the prim has been created, I can click create a cube, and it stopped right at that point. It's actually already created the cube, but it hasn't even had a chance to draw it yet. So if I look over here on the variables, you can see here that there is that prim variable, and it is a USD geom cube, and I can see what functions are available to me. So that's all very handy. Here's the stage. Again, also, I can introspect that. Down here is the debug console, where I can write code to evaluate on the fly. So I can say prim get size adder dot get, and that tells me that the cube that I created is a size of 2. So that's smaller than what I want. So I can go ahead and say prim dot create size adder, set that to maybe 10 times bigger, and then enter. And so that evaluated correctly, and now I can go ahead and press play to continue, and there's my cube, and it's 10 times bigger this time around. So let's take a look at a few more things here before we wrap this up. I can stop here, and now when I create a cube, these are my controls for stepping through my code. I already showed you how to continue. I can step over, I can step into, I can step out, and then I can also just restart. So I can step over here, step over, and I'm right back at that point that I had stopped previously. And the last one is disconnect. If I'm done debugging for now, I can click on this disconnect, and the VS Code link widget shows me that it's the debugger's unattached again, and I can move on. And that's a brief overview of how to debug your Omniverse extensions using Visual Studio Code. Hope that helps.